It is a real pleasure today to talk to Norbert Niederkofler, a very unique individual living and working in South Tyrol in the Dolomites, one of the most beautiful places in the world. Norbert is one of the most renowned Italian chefs. He is patron of the restaurant St. Hubertus, of the Rosa Alpina Hotel in San Cassiano in South Tyrol. Most importantly, has been awarded with 3 Michelin stars. And he also does some very interesting things. He's the inventor of concept Cook the Mountain, a project which aims to create a strong synergy between gastronomy, territory, economic world, and institutions to spread a new model of development for alpine and mountain regions. He's also started a organization called CARE, C-A-R-E, and we'll have an event this year, somewhat delayed because of the COVID-19, but bring together unique individuals that have something to say about this general topic of sustainability and its interface with cooking, food supply, the planet, health of the planet. So welcome to the show, Norbert. Let me start out with the question. You've had a very unusual career path, going from, I would imagine, primarily interested in making the best food possible to now really being very much concerned about a much larger topic, sustainability, the planet, climate change, and many other topics. How did you get to the point where you are now?
Well, thank you, first of all, to be with you and to spend some time with you. Well, you know, I was born in a very, very small village in the most northern valley of Italy, in the Valle Aurina, and it's 600-700 people living there. And so for me, the dream was to see the world. And so the easiest way for me was to do it as a chef. And so I really started to travel around the world. I was doing school in Germany, and then I left there and I was traveling around the world for around 16, 17 years. So I was living in UK, I was living in Europe, around different countries in Germany, Austria, Switzerland, Austria, and also Spain. And for me, a big thing was, a very, very interesting thing was working in US in 1985. And I spent a lot of time also in the reservation of the Hopi Indians, and because I was very interested in that part of the world. And then I came back, and it was never planned for me to come back to Alto Adige, and I started here with a pizzeria to start a restaurant, and we got awarded in 2000 with 1 star, and in 2007 as a first restaurant in Alto Adige, in the Dolomites, especially in the mountains, with 2 Michelin stars, but with a totally different type of cuisine. So we were flying in products from all over the world, from Australia to Alaska to Norway, and always when there was a new product somewhere around the world, we were flying it in. Then in 2007, when we got the 2nd star, I said, okay, well, it doesn't make any sense to bring people from all over the world to the mountains and to serve them the same food as they can have in New York, in Los Angeles, in Tokyo, in Australia. So it does make absolutely no sense, and it doesn't make any sense to fly around products. And so then I started with, I wrote the concept of Cook the Mountain in 2008, and a lot of journalists, they said, hey, listen, watch out what you're doing, because if you're going on with this way, you're going to lose also your 2nd star. So because the restaurant was famous for sea fish, so we had 150 kilos sea fish every week flying in, as I said, and we were famous for foie gras. So we did 80-90% every night in the appetizer foie gras, and I took everything off the menu. And so I didn't realize really in the beginning what was really going on, because I mean I had to rebuild a whole supply chain, and then it happened in 2010. I became a first-time father, and then I said, no, we have to change, because we have to really change our attitude, our way of thinking, because we cannot go on like this, because it's crazy, and we are just not taking care about the world. And then also all the things that I learned with the Hopi Indians is said, no, it's absolutely the wrong way. And so I really started, and even Michelin in Italy called me, and they said, watch out what they're doing. And they said, no, we are going this way now, and that's it. So in all those years, we built up a supply chain with around 50 farmers. We go directly, we have no middleman. We order directly, we pay directly, and we use everything. Because this is what we had to learn. Because when we said to the farmers, I need just the roast beef and the fillet, and the farmer told me, hey, what I'm going to do with the rest. And so then we had to reset up the whole menu, the whole thinking. And today we are on a point which is very, very interesting, because we are not using any olive oil. We are not using any citrus. We are not using any vegetables out of greenhouses. We have an absolutely no waste concept, food-wise, vegetable-wise, everything. And so this is, and we are trying to avoid sugar as much as possible. And so it's a totally different way. And we were looking for acidity, and all the acidity would be what we need today. We produce it with fermentation. So we do our own soya sauce, but we do it with mountain lentils. We do our own miso, but we do it with chickpeas. So the cuisine changed completely. We brought in a lot of knowledge, what I learned around the world. So from Australia to South America to Central America to India, to all those places where I was lucky to travel around, and we put it in our type of cuisine, but only using products of the mountains. And then in 2017, we were the first restaurant in the world to get awarded with 3 Michelin star with a totally sustainable concept.
It's a fascinating story, I have to say. I mean, and it obviously took a lot of courage to make that change. For risking 2 Michelin stars and getting 3 is sort of a fascinating story. So before I go on, and ask you some things about this, you mentioned that you got rid of olive oil. I was wondering, I was just curious, why is that? Olive oil normally considered a fairly healthy, way of probably one of the healthiest fats that you could use. Why did you decide to get rid of it?
No, you're absolutely right. But we live on 1,600 meters over the sea level, and so there's no olive tree. So this was the reason why we took it off. And we started to work with grapeseed oil. And grapeseed oil for us, it's a big help, because we need working without greenhouses. So we have like now. Yesterday we were up on the mountains to pick up the white garlic, the leaves, the bärlauch, which is an amazing vegetable or wild herb. And we had the problems because we had to preserve the products, and especially in springtime, because our working system now is in wintertime we do all the planning. So we do all the meetings with the farmers. We tell them what kind of meat we need. We tell them what kind of vegetables we need, and then they grow everything. But as I said before, without greenhouses. So we have always a very small range of when we can use the products, and obviously we cannot use them all in once. So we have to maintain them, and so we had to learn with all the old system to do preserving. So like fermentation is an old tradition in this area for kraut. For cabbage, it's very traditional. And so then you realize how those things have already done. With the oil, like with the wild herbs, the more delicate the herb is, the more delicate you need the oil to maintain it. And grapeseed oil, for us, is fantastic because it has no color, it has no taste. So we can do, like with lemon verbena, which is very delicate, we can do a lemon verbena oil out of the herbs, just using the etheric oils from the verbena, and you can do a fantastic oil with the color and with the taste. And so that's why you need a very neutral oil. So this was the reason why we took it off. And the main reason was because we are living on 1,600 meters over the sea level and there's no olive tree.
That's really a fascinating aspect of it. Uh, so, I mean, obviously, you have been successful with this dramatic shift in your emphasis, and I mean, this is a fairly radical concept of cuisine. I've not heard of anything like that. So, how has this been received by your clients?
Well, I was preparing it for, because I'm a very curious person. I want to always talk to the people. So this is also why I became a chef, because the biggest and the nicest conversation we have always around the table with some good food and some good wine. And so I was asking for almost 1.5 years, people, what do you expect when you come to this area? What are you looking for? Why are you coming to this area? And so I was really asking people, and we had really fantastic people here, because we had Elliot Musk here, we had Zuckerberg's wife here. And so I was really able to talk to them and to ask them. And then they said, no, we are looking not just for the, we want to see the mountains, we want to smell the air, and we want to taste the mountain. And so this was the reason why the Cook the Mountain was born. And so, and for me, there was, after 2 years, I did questions, then I reset the questions, I redid the questions, I reset the question for 2 years, and then for me there was no doubt about it, so that I had to go that way, and for me it was really absolutely normal. And so now people really love it. People come, and people come, some of them, they come 3-4 times per year, because they want to see the difference between what kind of winter cuisine you have, what kind of summer, spring. And so, and when you go out to nature, nature gives you in every period of the year exactly what your body and your mind needs in the colors and also in the consistency of the tastes.
Yeah, this seasonality. So on this book that I'm currently working on, clearly rhythms are a very big part um, of of life and of health. I think a healthy organism, any healthy complex organism, shows oscillations and rhythms. And every time you suppress or get rid of the oscillations, that organism, whatever it is, nature or our own bodies, are no longer as healthy. So I think what you're emphasizing, the seasonality, clearly fits into, even scientific concepts now, the way we understand how your microbes in your gut show these oscillations, both during seasons and also during day and night. So I think that is really a scientific idea that you're putting into practice there.
Well, we are not. What we are doing is just stomach grown, because we just do it because we had to do it. We had no other chance to do it, and we realize that like after a long winter time, when you have just dark vegetables, very dark colors, very heavy products, because you use also very heavy ingredients, then you get really fed up. You don't want to see by the end, when you have to have in spring, the first days with more sun, when it gets warm and warm, then you're really fed up. You don't want to see the kitchen anymore, this type of cuisine, and then you're looking forward for something new. And then you start with the herbs and with the flower, also with the colors from the spring, which is crazy, because you get very airy colors and very airy taste, and so also the consistency, also the first flowers, and this is very light, so it gets very light, and then in summertime it gets strong colors, strong tastes, very fruity tastes, and then in fall you go out to the chestnuts, to the pumpkins, to the yellow colors, to the brown colors, and so it's a total natural rhythm, and that's why we avoid things. We are using tomatoes all year round, but we are using them always in a different way. So like we use around 40 to 50 different types of tomatoes, but we use them ripe just in one period when they are really there, when the farmers bring them. And then we use them, or we preserve them, or we cook them, or we do powder out of it, or we fermentate them. And so we use them in a different way. And the fun thing is we had a big problem with the plums a couple of years ago, because the farmer, he brought us 250 kilos of plums in 2 days. He said, oh, what the hell are we going to do with all those plums? Then we started to work on it. And first we used them in the pastry, and then we had still some left over. Then we started to fermentate them. and we fermented them, and then we set them up like a tomato sauce, but without onions, without garlic, without nothing. We were just cooking them like a tomato sauce. And it's like tomato. It tastes really like tomato. And so this is what we are using today for the kids as a tomato ketchup. And kids love it because it's very fruity in the end. And the big difference is that when you use a tomato ketchup, which is bought, you have from 400 to 700 grams of sugar in 1 kilo.
Yeah.
And there's in the ketchup we do with the plums, there's not 1 gram of sugar. It's just the sugar from the fruit. That's it. And there's a very nice acidity. And so this is what we are trying to do. And we see that also with the kombucha, what we are doing in-house, or with all those products, we see that it helps a lot to stay light, very light also for the digestion. And it's very interesting. So now we are working with the Limburg, which is the research center of Alto Adige, because you have to learn how to deal with, because when you give too much fermented products to people when they are not used to, it has a kind of a strange effect. It's nothing bad, but it's you have to go to the toilet probably more often than you like to do it. But it helps. It helps and it cleans the body. And so this is very interesting. So that's why it's a really interesting story.
Do you think the people that come to you, I assume from all over the world, do you think you are becoming, or you are already a game changer in terms of how and what people eat?
I think yes, because we see that people, when they have been here once, they like to come back. So this one is but you have to do a really good storytelling. And we do storytelling, but we do just real storytelling because we know the farmers. As I said before, we are not having any middleman. So we go directly, we go to see the farmers, we go to see what they do on the fields, we go to see how they work. We learn a lot. And this is very interesting here because in this way now, it's much, much more than just cuisine. You maintain the culture, you keep the culture, and you understand a lot of things why they have done in the old days in this way. And so this is very interesting. And so you can do really good storytelling, but honest and true storytelling. This is very important for us because now it's, I think, to fool around with the people, the time is over.
I mean, obviously, this is a big topic in my new book. What's happened with the Western diet, particularly the North American diet, is obviously is one of the major reasons for many of the chronic diseases that we're suffering and that we sort of accepting as the norm now. Heart disease, Alzheimer's disease, insulin-dependent diabetes, and all. Do you think about the health aspects of your cuisine as well? I mean, the personal health. So a lot of these things, what you said, is really about the well-being and sort of fitting into the planetary, planetary harmony and health. But you also pay attention to individual health. Is that a major consideration?
Well, I'm not a doctor, so I cannot work on this, and I never will do it because this is the reason why we started to work with the Limburg, because they have a research center. Mm-hmm. And for the future, for sure, I would love to do much, much more because we see also with the herbs, you can do a lot. There's a lot of, like when you see Hildegard von Bingen, mm-hmm. which is in 1200, and they were already doing a lot of care with a natural product, with natural wild herbs, with the roots, with all those things. And I think there can be done really a lot. It's a natural way. It's a totally different way because it's, like in the Asian medicine, that the doctor is there to make sure that you don't get sick. Mm. And this is how it should be. And I think you can do it in a natural way. It takes longer, but what this wish project for me is really to start to work with the kindergartens to educate kids in a different way. Because I had a very nice conversation because I was working with David Boulay in New York, and he's doing now a very interesting program which is called The Chef and the Doctor, which is really fantastic. Also, Dan Barber, he was working with him. I was there working with him the first time in '85. And I was once with him discussing and said, "What do you think about my food?" And I said, "Well, David, I think your food is great, but for me it's too sweet." And he said, "Well, you're right, but you are born with a European palate." And I said, "Well, what does it mean, this?" So it doesn't make any sense, because so if I have to make you happy, I add 5 grams sugar more on the recipe just to make you happy, because you are grown up with marshmallows and candies. So what I'm going to do next year, I add more sugar, then I add more sugar, and then and I think we see today that the biggest problem is the sugar, it's not the fat. And so this is probably, but you know much more about this. So I'm just a chef, and I just see things and I try them by myself. But what we are doing now is really we start to work with one doctor here who uses really just wild herbs, wild roots to cure people like they used to do it in the old days.
So so there's a lot of talk about the benefits, the health benefits of the Mediterranean diet. That's sort of the, even in research, all the studies that are done with a traditional Mediterranean diet. But what you're doing is not really a Mediterranean diet. It's really a unique alpine regional cuisine.
Well, there's so many products like we started to do. We had a pastry chef who was really a fantastic pastry chef, but he used all the flours, the manipulated flours. Then when he left, we had to reset everything. And I said, no, I'm not going to do this again. And so now we have farmers, they grow the corn for us, and we use just the natural corn. And the bread is totally different. It's totally different. You can eat the whole bread. And you see also people when they have problems with gluten, they don't have so many problems with that kind of food. And so this is quite interesting. And I think it's we should really start to think about it and to think about it in a different way and to go slowly backwards. And we see that more and more people are interested in eating this, because for me, the biggest compliment is always when we serve a menu with around 15, 16 small courses. And, people next day, the biggest compliment for me is, hey, we had a great dinner last night and we slept really well. So we were really light in the morning to wake up. And I think this is, but there you have to adjust a couple of things. So that's why we never put more than 2 or 3 ingredients on one plate, because the more input you give to the body, the more the body has to think, and the more the stomach has to think about it to really work on it. And so the more energy you take out of the body. So I think it's very important to use just very clear and very straightforward products, and just not too many ingredients on one plate, and then it helps also for digestion.
I want to ask you, we could talk for a long time, and hopefully we'll have the opportunity in the near future to do this over a delicious meal. I have one question. If you had to pick one dish from your cuisine, which one would that be that you think is, for you personally, the best one?
Well, we do some beetroot gnocchi, but just in a certain period of the year. Then this is one dish which is really nice. And, you cannot say one dish anymore, because it depends on the nature, because we are not deciding the dishes. Nature decides them for us, because nature gives us the products when they are ready. And so this is quite interesting. And so you have dishes all season around. We do a barley risotto now in this period with just wild herbs, with goat milk butter, with mountain cheese. And so this is very interesting. And we changed around. We're not the typical chef anymore, that we sit down and we think about recipes. We're not doing this anymore. We sit down, we see the products on the table, and then we do the recipes. And so it's completely the other way around. And it works out quite well. We do one dish where I'm really proud of is a white fish tartare from a freshwater fish. And the idea there, we put the fish on the table and we said, okay, we are not going to stop before we didn't use everything. So we really use everything. We use the scales as a crunchy part. We use the skin as a crunchy part. We use all the meat making a tartare. We use the bone and the head for making a stock. We use some dill oil to give some acidity. We use the capers of the wild rams which we are doing fermented, so you get a very nice acidity. So the dishes are very complex. It looks very easy, but it's very complex. And as I said, you know, it takes the whole year round to work on it, that you can really go on with it.
Wonderful. I could listen to this for a long time, and you know, as I said, I'm looking forward to actually get the real life experience of this amazing cuisine that you have developed. And thank you for this conversation.
Thank you.
And
But anytime, if you want to talk longer and more, we just have to schedule it. I just had scheduled something at 5 o'clock today, but otherwise, anytime, just we can sit down for hours, no problem.
that sounds good. I'll definitely come back to this, take you up on this offer.
Yes.
Thanks, Norbert. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.